Hey, and welcome to the Business Pioneer Podcast. I'm your host, Erika Montgomery, founder and CEO of Three Girls Media Inc., an award-winning digital marketing agency. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Brandy Ferguson, who's the founder of An Veritas Accounting. After a career in government and corporate finance, Brandy really found her niche as an e-commerce accountant, helping online businesses streamline their financial processes through automation and integration. Her journey to entrepreneurship started after COVID when she realized that she could create a more efficient and client-focused approach to accounting. Now, she helps e-commerce businesses transform really complex financial data into clear, actionable insights, saving them hours of work each week. And what is not to love about that? So please join us today as we discuss Brandy's path to launching your own firm, the power of automation in accounting, and the financial challenges e-commerce businesses face today. Brandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Erika. That's very nice.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about An Veritas Accounting and how you got started.
So when COVID hit, I started working for an accounting firm in Washington that was 100% remote, and all the staff was all over the United States. So it really kind of showed me how to completely be remote and to answer some of those questions I'd had about, how can I help serve clients in other states and things like that and still be able to, meet their needs and stuff. So they showed me a lot of things. And then for the time that I was there, I started developing my own processes, my checklist. New clients came on, the questions I wanted to answer. The owner of the company decided to start bringing me into onboarding meetings so that I could ask my questions and then give him a better idea if it was a good client to bring on board or not so good client that we would probably have to fire later. And unfortunately, sometimes there are those. I learned to kind of realize some of my skills because they're like, you're really good at this and you're really good at this. And I streamlined some of the processes and I was always tinkering. I'm like the red button pusher. So I was always tinkering and trying to push the red buttons to find out what worked and what didn't work to try to streamline stuff. And most of my streamlining back then was just using Excel and Power Query and pivot tables and things to try to take the information that the clients were giving me. And then they had these two e-commerce clients that they're like, hey, we don't know how to do this. You're the one that is advanced in Excel the most of all of us. Can you hear with this and see if you can help them? And at that point, it was at the end of 2021, I think, or the end of 2020. And they had a year's worth of transactions that they needed to be fixed in QuickBooks. And it was quite an undertaking. And I did it on my own. And it kind of showed me that, you know what, this is something that I really like to do. I like to fix and I like to help people and just kind of all fit together for that.
And so you decided to go out on your own and start your own company and become an entrepreneur, huh?
I did. I kind of got, I would suggest ideas for ways to improve further or software that I had researched because I also have the certification as a certified fraud examiner. So when I look into software, I make sure that, it meets all the SOC requirements for clients and things like that. And I would bring I go to these meetings with these salespeople and have some questions. They're like, we never heard that before. And then go back to the owner of the firm and say, hey, this is a really good software. We should look at doing this. And when they started saying no to me a lot, I was like, you know what? I can do this on my own and probably even better. That's what I decided to do. And it was the biggest, scariest thing I ever did. But the only thing I ever wish of people that when you're thinking about, starting your own business and you're worried about it, stuff like that, the only thing I regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that because one of the reasons I decided to start Three Girls Media is because I also thought I could build a better mousetrap than, what I was experiencing working for other people. And it definitely was one of the biggest steps I've ever taken and the scariest things I've ever done. But boy, has it paid off. Having done this now and worked for myself for 20 years, I cannot imagine going back to work for somebody else. So it has absolutely been completely fulfilling. Have you had the same experience?
I mean, first, I kind of, I quit my job there and I had kind of started, like my website and had literally like, I gave my employer like half a month's notice. Or about a month's notice because I really didn't want my clients to suffer. And I had noticed a big shift at the company. Some people had left and they just like threw all of these clients at me. I was handling like 13, 14 clients, which for one person, I mean, I had a team of people that worked with me that I had to train and I had to monitor and things like that. But the team was maybe 4 people and they had certain skill sets and that was it. It wasn't like I could work outside the box with some of them. They were kind of limited. And so I had to pick up the slack. And with that many, I was just like, I'm getting burnt out. I've got like 80 hours. I was working like 80 hours a week. And my husband was like, you don't quit this job, we're going to have problems. So I just said, you know what? One of my friends said, hey, I got this client, seems to be perfect for your business. Let's do it. So I just jumped and sent a notice out to all my clients to say, hey, I'll be here till the end of the month to train my replacement. I was very nice to my previous firm and I didn't try to steal anybody away. I just sent out notices that said, hey, it's been great working with you. If you want me to tell the next person how I did stuff, great. And I actually have 2 clients come with me. And then the other one that I had started with, and it's been great since then. I mean, I was scared at first. The first month was kind of scary, but after that, I was like, oh, I got this. This is all good.
Yeah, amazing. So, as an entrepreneur, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced?
So I think, I've done some leadership stuff before, and I think the biggest thing for me is I'm kind of like a one-horse pony for most of my business. And so I have to wear the payroll hat and I have to wear the website hat, I'm kind of like a creative person anyways. So that isn't too far of a stretch for me, but I'm horrible at marketing. And I know this. And I think with most business owners, it's really good to know that there's people out there that you can reach out to that's good at the things you're not good at so that then you can build your business bigger when you want to. But I also think it's important to know, like when I started my business, I am going to start an accounting firm and this is what I'm going to do. My clients were very specific, like, why are you different than anybody else? And I'm like, here's the thing. I said, you may not like it, but if I take on a new client, I only take on one new client at a time because I want to make sure their onboarding process is good and that we have everything that we need and that everything is going to be taken care of and there's no questions left on the table. And so the 2 clients that followed me, I even made them wait. I had started my business in December of 2021 and I brought a client on in December and I made my 2 following clients wait until January and February of the next year, which means that I had to clean up some mistakes that the other accounting firm did while I was not there for a month. But it was little stuff compared to just kind of running your own business. And after that, it's just been really, I'm so surprised at how much it's grown and word of mouth. And now I get clients mostly from word of mouth referral.
That's amazing. I mean, you cannot beat a word of mouth referral. It is the best kind of referral that you could possibly get, the best business. And one of the things that you said really struck me, and that is essentially focus on what you do well, on your expertise as an entrepreneur, and outsource everything else. And I think that's such an important message, especially for new entrepreneurs to understand. I think most new entrepreneurs wear a lot of hats. You kind of have to when you're starting a business, and you may not have the budget to outsource everything you'd like to outsource. But I think it's really important to understand what it is you're good at, and then really important things hire out. For me, when I started my business, I was great at the marketing and public relations component, but I knew absolutely nothing about bookkeeping, taxes, that whole aspect of it. And I'm horrible at math. It is just not my forte. And so one of the first things I did was hire a bookkeeper and tax accountant. And it worked out really well for me because not only did he do a wonderful job of managing my books and doing my taxes, but we ultimately became good friends, then best friends, then started dating, and now he's been my husband for 18 years. So I got a lot more out of the deal than just a bookkeeper and accountant. So it
Congratulations.
worked out really well for me, but boy, am I glad, I decided to thank you. Yes. But, I am really glad that I outsourced that because I know I would have made a mess of the numbers had I done that, myself. And, for you, you mentioned marketing is not your forte. And so, looking at somebody like me to help you with your marketing, I think it's really great advice to focus on what you do best, outsource the rest, and really let people do what they're experts in. So I love that. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about your client base. Obviously, you do e-commerce. Is there a particular like type of e-commerce business or industry that you work with the most?
So that it's funny that you asked that because initially when I first started, I said, I want to have my niche because that's important and I'm not going to be like everybody else. And so I chose e-commerce because two of the clients I brought with me were both e-commerce. And I've kind of actually even niched further to the fact of that all of my clients are e-commerce. They sell their services or products online and they're all around fitness oriented stuff. So, I mean, it just kind of worked out that way.
Mm.
One of them sells protein powders and wellness drinks, and another one is a fitness franchise, and another one is a youth flag football.
So all fitness related, I think that's great that you've been able to cultivate that niche because when it comes to your marketing, you can be very, very specific in who you're trying to reach out to. And I think that's another mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is they don't have a very specific target audience. They say, oh, well, I can serve anyone. Well, sure, I'm sure you might be able to, but from a marketing perspective, that can make things really challenging when you don't have a clear defined message of who it is you're
Mhm.
trying to reach. So I think it's very smart that you have created that very narrow target market for yourself. And it's really not that narrow because within the fitness, health, wellness realm, there are so many different types of businesses that sell online. So tell me a little bit about some of the biggest lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur over the last couple of years.
I think one of the biggest ones is learning how to say no, because like you said, I'm a bookkeeper and accountant. I've been doing accounting for 20 years. I'm working on taking my CPA exam and studying for that now. And I can do anybody's books, really. I mean, but do I want to and should I? Are the two questions. And I think sometimes I've tried to help. I've helped out some friends and stuff with little projects and stuff to get them started for doing their own business or what have you. But the biggest thing was saying no, because I've had clients that I've had to fire and come up with my own way to say, it's not me, it's you. We're not working together. We just don't work well, I start working for them. They weren't very truthful on what they had that needed to be fixed. Or my questionnaire is pretty detailed, like, what e-commerce platforms do you sell on? How many stores do you have in each e-commerce platform? Because I take that information and I've developed a really good rating system because I do two things when I meet new clients is I tell them there's two things that I can provide you. One, I do monthly billing. So it's a budgeted monthly amount. You will pay the same amount every month. And once we know, like if there's a major change in the amount of hours that I have to do on your stuff or you add a new store and then I have to, do more hours, we'll amend the contract to, adjust for that. But for the most part, you'll be billed the same amount every month. So I can give you a budgeted amount. You're not going to have unexpected fees every month or whatever. And the second thing and this is kind of my selling piece that I tell people is with the automation and the software and my experience in that background with accounting, I take a 40-hour accounting work week and I turn it into 10 hours a day or 10 hours a week. Sorry. That's what I do. So that gives me the ability to actually work for multiple clients. And then when I have clients come on, I have subcontractors that I use sometimes who have specific skill sets that can come in and do like AP for me or come in and do AR for me. and do stuff like that. And I have one gentleman who's great at building reports and macro models for me. So that when I say, here's the data and I need to turn it into this, and I give him what I created, then he makes it even cleaner. Going to the people that know how to do it better, really.
Nice. Yeah. That's great advice. Again, is focus on your strengths and sort of outsource everything else, even if it's just for like a project. Like you said, you have people that you bring in kind of on a project basis when you need a special report or, need something a certain way. And so I think that's, again, great advice is to surround yourself with a team of people that are really good at what they do that you can rely on when you need a hand. It's so important. And then what's your strategy for growth? How are you growing your business? You mentioned word of mouth referrals. Is that pretty much how you're growing right now?
Well, kind of gone into like a stall on purpose right now, staying with the clients that I have and kind of eking out a little bit of the extra time I have to study. Because like I said, I am studying for my CPA. My goal, if I actually get it right the first time, will be to have all of my tests done by the end of this year or before. And then after that, then maybe look at what else I want to do.
That's amazing.
That's kind of my plan right now because my husband retired from his career in a couple years, and then I'm going to kind of fold him in to a secondary like service will offer management and kind of move the fraud department that I want to build, do fraud trainings for businesses and things, and he's going to help spearhead that side. So I'll still do accounting. Maybe get to travel every now and then, and he can work on the training the businesses and stuff like that because he's really good at training and he's very people person oriented. I gave a presentation at the middle school and all the kids are like, do you have to stand up in front of audiences very often? And I'm like, I don't like it. I was like, this makes me nervous.
So you let him do that part, which is great that you'll be able to work together, but still each have your own side of the business. And I think that's what works for me and my now husband working together is that even though we both work in the same business, we have very defined roles. He handles the bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, HR kind of stuff. And then I handle the sales, the marketing, managing of the team and overseeing the work product and all of that. So it's nice because we each have our own lanes that complement each other and still benefit the business. And so I think it's nice that we don't step on each other's toes but can still work together. And it sounds like you'll have that too once he's able to join you, which is really, really nice. In terms of developments in accounting, is there anything like new going on? I know AI is all the rage in some industries, like particularly in marketing right now, everybody's talking about AI. Is there anything like that going on in the accounting industry?
Yes and no. I mean, there's always been, people are always afraid of AI because they feel like it's going to replace jobs. And I don't really think that's the case because it doesn't replace my job. It makes my job easier. And then I can then take on more clients. And when I get to a certain point where I take on more clients and I'm like, okay, now my workload is too much, then I still have to hire people to help me fill some of those roles because there's certain things I think, like I used AI in software to set, like when you set rules in your email to forward a message or you set rules to put it in a certain folder. Well, I set messages and emails. So when my clients assign an email for me to use to monitor bills coming in and AP and AR and things like that, I assign certain rules in the emails to handle the AP bills, go to a certain software that will then put it into their accounting system. So then I've kind of eliminated some of that. And I'm still there to get it, but it kind of speeds up some of that process. So, I mean, to each their own. I know some people are afraid of it. I don't use it in the front part of my business, but sometimes when I'm like redoing a piece of my website and I need to come up with the words, I'll plunk it into AI like the Chat GPT or something and let it kind of come up with something that sounds much better than me rambling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. ChatGPT is great for that, for sure. And so now that you've been in business a couple of years, what achievements would you say you're most proud of and why?
So let's see. I work with my clients to help them improve processes related to accounting and things like that. One of my clients is a fitness franchise, so they get audited every year. We're actually completing an audit right now. Throughout the years, I have gained more responsibility on their side to be like one of their main points of contact for the auditors to reach out to with regards to questions they have and things like that. But then the one thing that we have when they had their first couple of audits, I was on the sidelines and I'm like, let me help you. This is taking forever. And they wouldn't get their audit completed until well after it was due. And a lot of their processes needed improvement. There wasn't a lot of internal controls that would really separation of duties and things like that kind of help businesses protect themselves against fraud and risk of employee theft, or just kind of basically pass an audit a lot cleaner with, internal controls that are outlined in policies and things like that. So I took on some office manager kind of roles in that aspect. Is I feel like I train my clients sometimes on how to make their business better by helping them come up with some of these policies. And even if they just talk out, some of the things they're dealing with, like, hey, you have this petty cash account and nobody's putting up the money at the end of the month and nobody's sending the receipts to me. So I don't really know what's going on, kind of thing. And then we kind of fix it from there and brainstorm ways to make it better. And we do this through each of the processes. I think the biggest accomplishment I had is one of my clients has a pretty good network of subcontractors they use and employees they use, and they do conferences for their franchisees throughout the United States, multiple conferences, like 5 a year. And so there's a lot of travel reimbursements. There's a lot of expense reimbursements, meal per diems that they do every year. Well, in the last 2 years, we've worked, myself and the office manager, finance officer, worked really close together to build an expense reimbursement process that feeds right into my automation and a way for vendors to submit their ACH information, W-9 information, so we can streamline that process better. And we've really been working to kind of make this whole piece for them way easier. And I say over the years, that's probably my biggest accomplishment because it's a tool that I've developed specifically for their need, but it's something I could also easily turn around and sell to another client.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. That's huge. And when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time? What do you do for fun?
Oh, goodness. Well, I am a creative person. I kind of have my own little creative craft business that I do on the side. And so I have a laser cutter. I dabble in resin and jewelry and things like that. But I also have a small kind of hobby farm. My son and I kind of run around and play with painting goats and the chickens. Oh,
I have fun with chickens as well. And I'm getting some new babies this weekend. So I'm expanding my chicken flock. Well, any final words of wisdom that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
I think it's really back to the beginning where it was like the biggest fear I had was, I guess, letting myself down or letting my family down, thinking that if I did my own business and it flopped, that I would have to turn around and kind of do the walk of shame back to the, employee world and be somebody's employee again. And I kind of am, with my clients, they hire me to do a job. So I'm in that essence, you are. But that was my biggest fear. And I think the one thing when people ask me, what would you do differently, is I would have done it sooner. Really would have. But all of my previous
Yeah,
employers,
don't be afraid. Just dive in head first.
yes, all my previous employers taught me something great. So I think the timing for me was that I learned a little bit from everybody. And the one piece, I would say one other piece that I would tell people is never burn a bridge, because even though I left my last employer and I quit, and it was literally kind of competition. They provided a bigger overall accounting firm aspect for people than I did, and they still referrals to me. So don't burn bridges.
Wow, that's amazing. Great advice for sure. So, Brandy, if people want to find An Veritas Accounting, how can they find you?
Well, I am on Facebook and I am on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
And you have a website, I'm sure.
I do. My website is An Veritas, veritas.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, Brandy Ferguson, An Veritas Accounting, I wish you the best of luck passing your CPA exam later this year. I'm sure you're going to pass with flying colors, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you, Erika. This was very fun.